guys want to get some coffee or something?
Can I get a cup of coffee? Black? Can't you see we talking? White?
Even little kids in Mexico drink coffee.
Well, I'm not a little kid in Mexico, okay?
That is the best coffee I've ever tasted.
A damn fine cup of coffee.
You want a cup of coffee?
No coffee.
Coffee drinker, huh?
Maybe we can grab some coffee?
Coffee, 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 coffee.
God damn, Jimmy. This is some serious gourmet shit. Me and Vincent would have been satisfied with some freeze-dried Taster's Choice, right? And he springs this serious gourmet shit on us.
Good Friday morning. Wow. It has been one heck of a week. I'm telling you. But we made it. It's Friday morning. I'm Keith, and I'm here not quite drinking coffee. I'm experiencing my fuel up for life. But enough about me. Let's get to my cohorts today. Das Wolfen.
Hello.
Thank you, Penny. Monkey. Christopher. How you feeling, buddy?
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Christopher Moonlight, and I am sick as a dog. Not a cool alien dog either. Just your general sick dog, as sick as they are. They do lick themselves.
And Mr. Joe's Atmosphere, otherwise known as the other man with the plan. How you doing?
According to Chris, I'm the honorary oos. How you doing, Keith? It's good to see you, bro.
You are the honorary oos, yes. And I'm looking for a new ringtone, by the way, Joe, just before I forget. I'm in love with Bailey saying a ding dong, hello idiots. That's gotta be my phone notification from now on.
That's a good one. Yeah. Yep.
And of course, Mr. Mate.
Good morning, everybody.
Well,
he's so crazy.
So crazy. Cool. So crazy. Yeah.
Well, today we're going to go over the top 10 most influential geeks, nerds in entertainment right now. I know that certain people on this list might be a little controversial, but this is influential, not so much the ones that you like.
Right. It's not the top 10 greatest geeks in Hollywood right now. It's who's got the pull is what it is, right?
Yeah. For right now, it's who's got the pull. And I got to say that I had a tough time trying to keep to the 10, there was a period where I thought about going over and maybe going 15, maybe 20. But I also think that keeping to 10 would keep things kind of cool, Wow, we've already got 7 people watching us. Oh, nice. My goodness. Oh,
hey,
geez. Yeah.
Before we get going, I was just curious, how do you personally, because I have my own thoughts on this, but how do you personally define a geek?
One of the things is their output, what they actually do. And you can tell when you are watching something made by someone who actually is a geek or a nerd. Here's a good example. And I know this is going to sound like, oh, here Keith goes again with this one, but I think it's a really good example of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings and Hobbit films versus what passes for that kind of stuff on Amazon. you can definitely tell who actually is a someone who's actually read the books and feels very strongly about that content in a positive way, I would like to think, versus people that are just basically doing it for money. So
that's a good definition. That's I think it's important to define these things, because everyone's people will come at you with a different point of view on it and try and sideline you.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having a different point of view at all. It's like, what's your favorite movie? I mean, you're going to get all kinds of, I have my list of favorite films, and I think everybody's got their list of favorite films and television shows, the favorite foods they like to eat. It pretty much is up to the individual. But for me, I think trying to pick out the geeks and nerds that are influential right now. At first, I thought it was going to be difficult, but I have to admit, it actually kind of got easy because many people take themselves right out of it. For instance, the showrunner for The Witcher, she's not. Clearly, she's not. Her attitude towards the source material, for which is the reason why she's employed and collecting a paycheck, shows that she's not. She's more interested in giving you her version of what that is, which is fine. That is part of your, that is a part of what you're being hired for. But when compared to people who have actually read the books, played the games, she's not interested in that. She's controversial. Her success to this point only goes so far. And, she hasn't really won anyone over with her interviews up to this point when talking about. Is everything okay?
Oh, yeah.
She hasn't really won anyone over to her side up to this point with her explanation as to what actually happened with The Witcher and why Henry Cavill's not there. Henry Cavill is in danger of permanently staying on that list of all-time geeks and nerds, because I have seen a lot of his interviews, and this guy is he's all about it. He's not just someone that's doing this to garner fans. In many ways, the beginning of his love of this stuff comes from the fact that he was picked on a lot. He's a former fat kid. So, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, this, to me, I grew up kind of in the punk and goth scene, but I was always a fan of comic books and, science fiction and that sort of thing. So I always kind of had a different point of view on the media that I was consuming. I thought it was kind of rebellious, especially when you're delving, reading comic books like Frank Miller's Sin City or, The Watchmen, that sort of thing, or Sandman. And, so there was always an element of counterculture to it. And my show on Tuesday is going to be two topics. It's going to be Blade versus the MCU and The Simpsons 800th episode. And I just watched Blade last night, and just the contrast between what that is in terms of a geek culture movie versus it's like it's like geek culture has been gentrified. So it's like they want to have that geek badge, but there's not actually anything really. It's like they're trying to take all the geek stuff out of it, all the stuff that actually made it good.
Yes.
Because They're embarrassed by it.
Well, I mean, it's the X-Men circa 2000. Everything that they did, as far as, it's great to actually have an X-Men movie until you realize that you're not getting the costumes and stuff from the comics. You're going to get an adaptation of that stuff because they thought that, this would be something that it would be easier for normies to digest and understand rather than giving them their costumes from out of the comics. And it's part of the reason why, while X-Men was good, it could have been even more dominant if they had actually stuck close to their comic book roots. That's my opinion. I know it's not a popular opinion.
So you didn't like the joke, huh? In the original X-Men?
No, I didn't mind the joke.
What would you prefer? Yellow spandex?
I did like that
Yes.
joke.
My thing with it was that, and this was something more to have to do with Fox and with the people that they put in charge of all that stuff. You can tell that the people that you were dealing with, the people that actually controlled that production, weren't really fans. It's that mentality that we have going into today. It's what is wrong with The Witcher. It's what is wrong with Star Trek. It is what is wrong with Star Wars, is that you have all these people that have ascended to places and positions of power who are using geek culture to make themselves more money, to gain themselves more favor, because they're not really interested in all of the geek and nerd stuff. They're just using it to get ahead versus all of the geeks and nerds that are geeks and nerds. It may not, you can look at someone like, say, Quentin Tarantino. He's a total geek nerd for films. Every time he opens his mouth, it's something about it. You can't fake that. It may not be the kind of geek and nerdism that, is all about science fiction or fantasy or whatever. Although, he is, according to him, he is a classic, he is a Star Trek fan, real Star Trek fan.
Oh, yeah. It's well known he wants to make one. He wants to make a Star Trek movie. And I'd love to see it myself. But,
I think a lot of people would. Unfortunately, because of the way things are, he'd have to, quote unquote, get permission from somebody who clearly isn't a Star Trek fan.
Right.
And that sucks. Why should someone like a Quentin Tarantino have to almost beg Alex Kurtzman? Yes. I mean,
somebody that clearly isn't. Yeah.
Yeah, he relishes in that. That's the other thing about it. It wouldn't be so bad if he truly were interested in being a fan and learning how to be a fan. The guy isn't, because it's not a part of his makeup. And he doesn't believe in the messages of what Gene Roddenberry was attempting to do. He believes in whatever is going to allow him to get paid and to stay in the good graces of the executives who allow him to continue to work there.
Well, that being said, is he in your top 10?
No.
Because he is not a geek, right? Yeah.
Partially, but he's also not good at what he does.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's pretty much destroying the brand is what he's doing.
He's not that good a writer. Mm-hmm. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what his job has been up to this point, because his ex-partner was the big Star Trek fan.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get someone in there that isn't, and it's clear that they're not, okay, so it must be because you're a really good writer. Not by what I've seen with Star Trek. None of that. I wouldn't wipe my backside with any of those scripts.
No.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
So
that's a very, very coarse paper. You're essentially wiping with an iPad, which,
I just, again, look, I've never met Alex Kurtzman. And for all of the things in my critiques, I'm pretty sure he might be a nice guy. He might be the kind of guy that you could, have a decent conversation with. But my thing is that he's not shown himself to be anyone who I could actually trust.
Right.
I would never trust him in business.
He's not a friend of the Star Trek community at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't do any business with the guy. He just reeks some.
Knowing people.
Yeah,
oh, sorry.
ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, knowing people who have worked on that show, I can kind of. I don't think I can say I have inside information on the environment, but I can kind of give you a sense of what the kind of people working on the show are and what they have to deal with, you know, where they have to make compromises and you know, their personal feelings about it. And part of it is, you know, there are people who are very talented working on those shows, especially in the art department, the design department, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're dealing with very constrained time limits, budget limitations, and you can see these shows, you know, they get a lot of funding to start, and then they, you know, they get one or two set pieces, and then they, you know, the rest of it's done on a shoestring, and they're expected to make it look better than it's ever looked before. But the fact is that, yeah, the working environment for the most part, you know, they're not, you know, outwardly hateful people or anything like that, or you know, they're friends. So even if somebody is making a, you know, being told to make a design choice, say like, you know, fundamentally change the Klingons, or, you know, fundamentally change a ship, or you know, one of those types of things, that it may not be the choice they want to make, but they're, you know, they want to work in Star Trek for better or worse because they grew up with it and they love it. So even if they fundamentally disagree with the choice, they're going to still try and do the assignment because that's their job. And also, these people do like each other. So, you know, on their end, from their bubble, they see people complaining about a design choice or something like that on social media. And somebody from the, you know, has reported back to them, oh, it's just, you know, the alt-right or something like that is complaining. So, you know, tell them to go F themselves. And they go, oh, okay, no problem. But they're not, they're coming from inside that bubble. So, you know, from their point of view, they're just seeing their friends who they work with getting attacked, and they're seeing all the work that the talented people that are on the show are putting in, and they want to defend it. So it kind of creates this this stalemate between the fans on the outside looking in and the fans on the inside who are trying to do good work. And you know, the assignment is essentially make it new, make it different, you know, but also appease the fans. And then in the 11th hour, they kind of, everyone gets the rug pulled out from under them and going like, oh, this is what we have to go with because we don't have time for anything else. So, you know, that's an environment that I think has been fostered and is unfortunate because there, like I said, there are people I know working on Star Trek right now who are friends of mine. They're extremely talented. They're extremely enthusiastic about what they do. But they are, they're trying to make the best out of the environment that they've been put into. And it's really not their fault, you know. No. But they're gonna, you know, they're gonna defend it. You know, if I asked one of them to come on the show, it would probably be awkward because they would be exposed to a completely different point of view on what they've been doing than what they themselves and their team have been kind of thinking of. So.
Yeah, right.
Look.
They'd have to defend it because, you know, they'd be defending their craft, not the total the work in totem. Yeah.
And again, I bear no ill will to any of the working people, any of the actors, any of the makeup people. I mean, everybody's got to do a job. My ire is aimed directly at Kurtzman, in so much as the fact that he started off by basically just completely ruining the original developed ideas and scripts for the show. And he didn't have to do that. He could have tweaked a few things, but to completely rewrite it and to turn it into this god-awful mess, that's an accomplishment. But you know what? I've delayed long enough. Let's just get to it because it's 10:20.
Well,
so
some of the actors deserve some ire because of some of the things they've said.
And I agree with you, John. But I also take it in this respect. They are working in an environment where they're kind of sheltered. Okay. And they're not used to any of that. Again, they are not, quote unquote, fans like we are. They are not really fans of the property. So you are in an environment where you're kind of locked away with people who, on the one hand, you've got a group of people, mainly executives, who are spending a lot of money on this. So there's the expectation factor of having to please your bosses and your boss's boss. And then you balance that with someone who knows deep down that they're not really doing anything that's going to please the fan. Look, you cannot tell me, after working on the Star Trek scripts for the 2009 movie and Into Darkness, that Kurtzman didn't know what he was getting into when he accepted to become the showrunner and the overall boss of all of Star Trek. That is not a job that he was qualified for in any meaningful way, and B, he was never a fan of any of that stuff. So he's having to basically recreate it and make his own version of it. So being that invested, he's fighting for his creative expression in that sense. And that's the way he has to think about it. He can't think of it like anyone else that would take that assignment that's a fan. He has to think about it in a slightly different way. And
there is status behind it, though. Status is a big motivator for people.
Yeah. And money. And money's the other thing. But look, let me go ahead and start in on the list. Okay, because I think that's the reason why we have a lot of people here. So let's start right now at number 10. Number 10, I gotta say, I think a lot of what we were just talking about can be laid right at his feet. For good or for bad, you can definitely lay it at the feet of Jeffrey Jacob Abrams, otherwise known as J.J. Abrams.
Bad reboot. Yeah. Bad
Look,
reboot.
I will say this. There is a reason why he has reached the heights that he has had. And he's had every opportunity to break out and become this big, huge talent, to even go beyond even a Kevin Feige or others. He should be the dominant geek of all geeks. The reason why he's not is because he has this habit of not really finishing anything he starts, which seems to be something that a lot of other people, even in my opinion, a lot of people who aren't geeks have a problem finishing. Just look at Greg Berlanti, who's kind of the same way. He never really finishes any of the shows he starts. He'll do a show for 2 or 3 seasons and then bring someone else in to take it over as he goes off and does something else. JJ is a geek, okay? But he's a geek that has a particular plan in place. First and foremost, to make himself wealthy. Everything he does, whether it's adapting something, whether you're talking Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever, has to have a deal in place for him to be able to make something on the back end as far as merchandising and other things. Okay? So for all the interviews he gave about making Star Trek and being honest enough to say, air quotes, honest enough to say and admit that he's not a Star Trek fan.
Yeah. He was honest about that. Those basically were auditions for doing Star Wars.
Yes,
what they were.
Yes, and so I give him credit up to a certain point, but that also would mean that he has to understand, part of the reason why he's getting criticism is because he really doesn't understand it. It's almost like, let's say he didn't get the opportunity to make a Star Wars movie. And let's say they hired someone else who was not who came in to direct episode 7 and who kept doing interviews saying that they were not a Star Wars fan.
Yeah. That wouldn't work out too well.
That wouldn't work out too well. He's had a lot of ideas. He's done a lot of different things. And again,
I think he got away with that because everybody considered the Star Wars property dead at that point. They really did before the reboot started. I mean,
dead up to a point.
What was the last Next Generation movie they made? Was it Nemesis? Was that the last?
Yeah,
one?
that was Nemesis.
And they didn't finish on a good foot. I mean, there was some good stuff in there, but it was on the whole, it was not a good foot to end on. But I think people were just they were happy to see them trying to do something. I think that's why he got a pass on that. I mean, he really did. A lot of people gave him a pass on it.
Yes. And again, he's out there, he's trying. He built a good team around him. And in this particular case, his team was the writers that he chose for the first film that he did, the first Star Trek film that he did. One was a fan and the other one wasn't. I mean, that's the clearest way to put that.
Yep.
And while the casting was really well done, Chris Pine, Zachary Quanto, Simon Pegg, Zoe Saldana, Carl Urban, John Cho, Ben Cross, Bruce Greenwood, everybody was great in that film. With a standout performance by Carl Urban.
Carl Urban was the best.
God, that guy is so talented.
Well, the casting you can't argue with. The guy that played Spock, I can't remember his name.
Zachary Quanto.
But Zachary Quanto, I remember him from Heroes because I loved that show when it was on.
Yeah.
And as Silas Gabriel, he was great. But man, when we saw him with that bold cut and the pointed ears, he was. I mean, and his acting ability to act like Spock. I mean, it was like he was channeling Nimoy. It was great.
Yeah.
But Carl Urban really knocked out of the park his bones. You're absolutely correct.
Scary.
He was awesome.
Scary.
Yes.
Scary good. And again, you gotta in your mind, you gotta understand only a few years before, he's on screen working under the direction of Peter Jackson with everyone doing the Lord of the Rings. And turned around and still became Dredd and all. I mean, the dude is just scary talented, and I got
Pitch Black, The Chronicles of Riddick.
Oh, geez. Carl, I can't say enough good things about Carl Urban. Going all the way back to when he was on Xena. And he was Julius Caesar. And the guy is scary talented.
Depending on when you made this list, he could have been on this list because he was the guy that really made the Dredd movie happen because he's a huge fan of it.
Yeah.
So,
it was just
you could, depending on when you made this list, you could have put him on it.
True.
Okay, so I gotta make an argument here based on the talent of Carl Urban and what he's exhibited. Just we talk about geeks, being in control of the property, respecting the property, but I'm kind of gonna argue the opposite in the sense that you get people who are geeks. Just look at fan fiction. Fan fiction is usually, aside from being self-insert fantasy, fans usually also, the fan fiction also comes from a place of people going like, that was pretty good, but I think I can do better. And until you actually try. Now, I'm someone who, I was always a Star Trek fan in the, the Shatner, Nimoy, DeForest Kelley sense. I never got into Next Generation all that much. I didn't understand it, but what I did see was as it worked so well for the fans as a television show. When you see them take the leap into movies, you see them pretty much trying to, for better or worse, recreate the magic of the Wrath of Khan. You know, get into that kind of Hollywood movie version of Star Trek where it really works best as a television show. On the other hand, Wrath of Khan came from someone, and Alien as well. You know, people, you know, what was it? I forget the actor that played Brett, what his name is. I'm just blocking on it. I know it, but you know, they talk to each other, and he's, you know, the actor said to Ridley Scott, "Well, I'm not really a science fiction fan." And Ridley Scott said, or not a science fiction fan, but a sci-fi movie fan. And Ridley Scott said, "Well, neither am I really, but I think I can make something out of this." And what I think the director of Wrath of Khan really showed us is it takes real talent. Like Carl Urban is a serious, classically trained, very talented actor. But it's not enough to be a fan. You've got to understand the original vision, the foundational values of the vision of the person who created it, in this case, Gene Roddenberry, and then apply real talent, real writing skills, real design, all great directing, all of that to the vision. And at that point, it doesn't matter if you're a fan or not. If you're respecting the vision and you're applying the craft seriously to it, you're going to get something good. I think what happens with the Geeks is they kind of get that fanboy, fan fiction mentality of, like J.J. Abrams did. I've never really been a Star Trek fan, but I think I can make it better. And this is what David Fincher did to the Aliens franchise by coming in and saying, I'm gonna do a better job than James Cameron, you know, like this kind of. And until you, and this is what, like I said, I didn't really understand Star Trek: The Next Generation until I saw the movies and saw that, no, the television show was always right. The audience was always right about the television show. It's when you try and take it and fundamentally change it and adjust it for a different audience that you fail, because ultimately, I think what a lot of the geeks and fans are complaining about is it doesn't need to be changed. It just needs to be done well for normie audiences to like it and appreciate it. That's why normie audiences gravitated towards Blade, and why they gravitated towards Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, and why Thor, dressed as Thor from the comics, worked on the screen, and why Hulk worked on the screen is because they didn't change it. They just applied the fundamentals of good storytelling to it and allowed the audience to relate to it in a way that they could take it seriously. It's this fan fiction. Like I said, I enjoyed the Abrams Star Treks, but I also enjoyed them as they're not really Star Trek. They're like, a parallel universe that you can disregard.
Exactly. And he did that on purpose at the beginning of it.
That's what I give him.
It's called the Kelvin timeline.
I give him major credit for doing that, because he could have been a real a-hole about the whole thing and basically did what Alex Kurtzman did, which is tried to pass it off as, oh, no, this is what was originally intended. This is what Roddenberry originally intended. And it's not, but to do it as an alternate timeline really works, because
you're not stepping on anyone's toes when you do it.
That's right. He was touted at a young age as the next Spielberg. I did not see that at all.
Well, I see he's a Spielberg fanboy, and here's the thing about J.J. Abrams. Looking at his work, you see him imitating Spielberg a lot, but he just does it because that's what he thinks Spielberg would do. Just like, but he doesn't understand what motivated those decisions to begin with. He's just got his kind of mystery box thing that he just goes to every time.
Every time, man. Yeah.
And, but if you see, there's a if you hear interviews with Michael Bay, one of his favorite movies is West Side Story.
Mhm.
And if you look at like dance musical number scenes from West Side Story, the way they cut together, and then watch his other movies, you realize he's making action movie versions of West Side Story.
Yeah.
But not the story, just the way he shoots things and cuts them together.
Yeah.
There's no reason to make action movies like West Side Story. He just saw what he liked in West Side Story and uses it, you know. But he doesn't use it to great effect. He just goes like, oh, that's a good cut. That's a good wide angle. That's a good framing, you know. He just takes, and if you watch his, you know, he takes stuff straight out of Star Wars too, the original Star Wars, the framing, the shots, compositions, all that sort of thing. They're just imitating it because they're fanboys, but they don't actually have anything. I mean, they bring their own stuff to it, yes, but only on a superficial level. They just see what works, you know, just like any manufactured product that Hollywood does. If it works, they just keep doing it until they run it into the ground and everyone's sick of it. So,
well, you know what? Again, I agree with you. You know, there is a lot of that fanboy stuff, but I also think it depends on what you're doing. You know, if you are coming into something that has a pre-established fan base and is a known IP, you don't have to make anything that is an exact replica, but you do, and I agree with you. You do have to at least act like you know something about that work. Okay, you at least have to be within the lines there, because if you're not, then you should expect to get flack. I don't, and again, I don't care if it's geek or not. It could be classic literature. You know, if you cannot lure people into a theater and lure them in with a classic film or basing it on a piece of literature, only to have and put zombies in it. You know, if you're gonna do something like, say, Gone with the Wind or something, you can't get away with that, because
you didn't
now
like Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies?
No, I like Pride. I mean, it was good, but you can't get away with just making that kind of a change. You know, if you go around telling people, hey, you know, I respect this and I like this and it's good, and we're going to give you that, and then you add in zombies to it, and then people get upset, and then you act all like, oh, I don't know what these people are talking about. I was up front. No, you were up front to a particular point. You know, you didn't have to add the zombies. You just added it in there to be a little different. So if you're going to pull stuff, you're going to have to, if you pull stuff like that, if you pull stunts like that, you should expect to at least meet a little resistance. My whole thing is, you can't waltz in with something that you're not that familiar with and act like everybody's going to have to kiss the ring. You got to earn that.
We got a super chat, speaking of earning it.
So anyway, that's JJ. He's number 10 on the list. And for good or for ill, you know, he has definitely had an effect.
Read your super chat, but I want to say one more thing about JJ. Go ahead.
Oh, shout out to Keith, the most contagious laugh on the internet. Hola Martin. Well, Christian. Oh man. Thank you.
I have the perfect video for this super chat, considering the individual we are talking about.
Yes.
You pompous, stuck-up, snot-nosed, English, giant, twerp, scumbag, fuckface, dickhead, asshole.
Yeah, he'd like that one, no doubt.
And remember, Keith's laugh is contagious, so wear your laughter prophylactic.
No, I just wanted to say one more thing about JJ. I do have to defend him on the first Star Trek movie. You referenced you have to know something about the material and draw from it. Yeah, it's a changed timeline and everything, but the one part I thought, and a lot of people didn't like this part of it, but I dug it, was where he picked a fight with Spock on the bridge. because several times in the original series they had talked about taking people out of the seat because they were compromised. That came up a couple of times in the original series, so I really dug that part of it. You know what I'm saying? But
I enjoyed everything about.
I cannot defend the Wrath of Khan or Into Darkness, whatever the hell that abortion was. I cannot defend that one at all. But
actually, I can defend. Look. This is going to sound weird considering what I've been saying. I can defend all of it because it's a different timeline.
Yeah,
you know, it's all. Look, to me, it's all good. But my only thing is, if you're going to take this on, then you have to understand that there is a certain element to this that you need to at least just, know what you're talking about if you're going to do this.
Yep.
Now, that is aimed more at a lot of the Kurtzman Trek fans.
Yes.
Because you can't get away with saying that this is the same as the series that started it all. And that's BS. We all know it's BS.
No.
Okay, don't lie to me and then try to shame me because I don't want to buy into your BS. I'm sorry. It's never going to happen.
Nope.
Okay, and the thing is that I think even Kurtzman knows that as soon as he's gone, as soon as his era of Star Trek is over, if somebody gets in there that is a fan,
ooh, yeah,
his stuff is going to be relegated to the dustbin of entertainment history and be used as an example as what not to do, and a waste
the
of talent.
adventure of Star Trek,
if not worse. But let's go to the next name on the list here. Now, for my money, this next person might sound a little off, but that's par for the course of what you get. Number 9 is Mr. Dan Harmon, and the reason why Dan Harmon is at this level is because he's a very influential guy. He may not seem to be a known name, but a lot of people like what he does, whether you're talking Community or even Rick and Morty. This is a guy that he is an odd duck. Okay. He's an odd guy, but it works, and it works for him, and it works for the product that he's able to put out. Again, how many Rick and Morty fans have you run into just in the last few years? How many Community
one?
See? But I mean, also look at it this way. The work that he was able to do on Community and all of the careers that he launched from that show that have gone on to do amazing things, like the Russo brothers. If you've never seen Community it was the best show on TV if you were a geek or a nerd. So knowing that the Russo brothers, what they were and what they liked, you could understand it when you watch a couple episodes of Community, why they wanted to work on this show. And while Big Bang Theory lasted longer, Community was a much, much better show. The way that they did things as far as, the all animated episode, the claymation episode, even doing things that eventually led to other effects within the industry. Like, it was the only television show and the only time I ever remember seeing adults play The Floor is Lava. And then a few years later, you got a Floor is Lava game show. It's little things like that. He has influence. He has pull. And fans really like what he does. I mean, even the writers behind Doctor Who were big fans of what he did with Community. Again, without Community, you have no Rick and Morty. And if you actually sit down and think that what you're watching is actually entertaining with the Big Bang Theory, then may I please introduce you to the cast of Community, which is a show actually made by a real geek about what geeks actually think normal people are like. So it's a way better concept than just a paint by numbers comedy show where the only real difference between that and everything else that the guy produces that does all that is just okay. Are we going to be laughing at moms in this one, or in the case of moms, are we going to be laughing at addicts? Or are we going to be laughing at the living situation of two brothers and their relationship with their mom? Or are we going to be laughing at, fill in the blank geek nerd types? It's all part of the same thing. There's a definitive formula for all of those shows. They're all coming out of the same place versus, you can't draw too many parallels between Community and say Rick and Morty. Nobody was doing things like the Council of Rick before Rick and Morty, except Dan Harmon when you watch Community. If you were familiar with it, you notice he started in a lot of that stuff and introduced a lot of that stuff in Community. So yeah, this guy is a big, big, big nerd, and he's proud of it. What do you guys think?
Well, technically, Council of Ricks is a parody of the Council of Reeds from Fantastic Four.
That's because he read comics. I mean, Dan Harmon is the kind of guy that actually is working on this stuff. He's read the comics. He's seen the movies. He knows the lingo. He's not somebody that's having to go out and hire geeks and nerds to, give authenticity to what he's doing, like a certain other show had to, It's the cameo appearances by, other known geek and nerd actors works out better on Community because instead of them being celebrities, they're actually characters within the universe, and
was George Takei in Big Bang Theory? I thought he played himself in Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, he played himself versus a lot of the cameos that you had in Community. Oh my goodness. And those cameos were really just characters. They weren't playing the actor fill in the blank. They were playing a character within that universe. And I like how they did the evil versions of all the characters, which is pure Star Trek, giving everybody goatees when they played the evil versions of themselves. Oh, that was awesome. So, yeah, if you've not seen Community, you need to watch it. It's just it's a different kind of show. And again, when you laugh, you're laughing at everybody, not just at the nerds and the geeks. You're laughing at everybody because everybody's a target.
The funny thing about all of these shows that you mentioned is that I've noticed, and maybe it's just me, but everybody I know that's been a fan of those shows that I know of have been disproportionately normies, actually. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna be the unpopular guy in this particular aspect, but I watched a little bit of Community because I liked Joel McHale in The Soup. Mm-hmm. And I watched a few episodes of Big Bang Theory and a few episodes of Rick and Morty. And I just don't get any of them. I mean, I get the references, but I found myself not understanding or not getting the appeal personally. Mm-hmm. And I can't really tell you what that is, except I mentioned it to Gary, and he just said it's like, what did he compared it to like drinking lager. Like some people are going to really enjoy it, some people are just going to find it bitter and gross, and it just didn't do anything for me. So in this particular instance, I can't add too much to the conversation. I don't think it's bad. I just never got from it what I see other people getting from it.
Yeah, so. And that's fine. Look, not everything should be like that. about personal taste, and really, this is the kind of stuff where you can create dedicated fan bases. Look, Star Trek fans love Star Trek, and there were many people who never got that. They didn't understand it, but they liked Lost in Space, or they liked the Time Tunnel, or they liked other shows, other programs, and that's fine, but with what we are discussing here today, influential geeks and nerds, Dan Harmon's definitely in on that. He is definitely.
And that's the thing is, the big problem that we're seeing with a lot of our beloved franchises is they're being handled by people that don't get them and don't make an attempt to. Again, going back to Wrath of Khan, that director had never seen Star Trek, but before he made Wrath of Khan, he made it a point to go and watch every single episode so he understood what it was about, and then he held true to that rather than trying to, what a lot of people do now, convert it into what they want it to be. And, it's like, I would be the first to tell you, if somebody came to me and said, hey, Christopher, we want you to write and direct the Rick and Morty movie, I would say, no, you got the wrong guy, because I fundamentally do not understand it. And I don't want to disrespect the fan base by inserting my own ideas into it and not giving them what is being promised. So, like I said, so even though it's not my taste that what he does, I understand that there is an audience for it, and I do respect that audience. So,
Well, look, I will say this. It sounds like you understand pretty much. I mean, that's the right thing to do. Not to try to just jump in just to make the money. But, I mean, if you're going to be spending sometimes up to a year of your life working on something, you want to make sure that it's something that you kind of enjoy. And it would really help if you truly understood it. For my money, any show that you could have even someone like the great Vince Gilligan, the guy who created Breaking Bad, as a character on your show. Walton Goggins, Jack Black, Matt Lucas, Malcolm Jamal Warner, Andy Dick, Tony Hale, Nick Kroll, Randall Park, Anthony Michael Hall. One of my favorite characters, played by John Goodman, who made more than one cameo appearance. LeVar Burton came in for one very special episode to play the father of one of the characters. Camille Najani, French Stewart, Luke Perry, Tig Naruto, Owen Wilson, Fred Willard, come on, Sophie B. Hawkins. I mean, this wasn't for cameos. This was to play characters. Even Brie Larson, pre-Captain Marvel. And she was actually kind of funny.
Well, Brie Larson is actually a talented actress. Her mistake was accepting roles in an area of that she didn't understand and didn't know how to bring something to. I got to go. My phone is about to
you go ahead.
Power, but I just got to say, I did not know Gilligan made Breaking Bad. I'm glad he was able to make something out of himself after getting off that island. So congratulations to him. Yeah. Gentlemen, you all have a great weekend, and I'm going to go have a coughing fit. So you guys take care. Bye.
Have a good one.
Bye, Chris.
Anyone else? Dan Harmon.
Yeah.
I agree.
Dan Harmon. Yeah, absolutely. I forgot I was on mute there for a second. When it comes to, I was wanting to back up Chris on one point. There's some fans that aren't totally enamored with, for instance, Big Bang Theory. Now, I've watched a few episodes of it. I'm not a huge fan of the show, but Kristen Delhomme will tell you that I'm a dirty old man, so I love Kaylee Kuko. So I'll always take a chance to watch Charmed or that with her on it, But I had a friend who was a comic book fundamentalist that hated that show, did
Mhm.
not like the way it portrayed geeks, did not like the way it portrayed the comic book community at all. I mean, he was vehement about it. If you even brought it up in a conversation, he would lose his damn mind.
Well, you
know?
have two friends now
Yeah.
that don't think, that feel the same way.
So, yeah,
but
I mean,
again, my whole thing with
it's all about perspective, like you were saying earlier, for sure.
Yeah, and my whole thing with Big Bang Theory is I just found it a little too formulaic, given all the other shows that are
Mhm.
being run by the same group of writers. You know, it would be different if you were dealing with people who wanted to put together a comedy show that had geeks in it, that actually understood what geeks were, and
Mhm.
not having to bring in people to help them get that right.
Right.
You know, Community doesn't have that problem because people who are geeks are working on the show, both in terms of the writer's room, or are actually acting in the show, or even directing episodes of the show. Everybody got it.
Yep.
Everybody got it. You didn't have to explain it to nobody.
Yep.
And that allowed them to do certain episodes that were really out there. You know?
Yeah. Mhm.
So
it's on my list to watch one day. I just haven't gotten around to that one. I don't watch much. I tell you, I haven't watched much network television at all in about a decade. I really haven't.
That's all right. It's
yeah.
there are better things to do
Yeah.
than to spend all your time just watching stuff on TV.
Mhm.
But you know what? I totally get that. I do. So let's go in and see who's next on the list. And that brings us to Mr. Kevin Smith. Now, I got to say, I may not have been a fan of what Kevin Smith did with Netflix as far as He-Man and the Masters of the Universe were concerned.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest thing against that was really the lack of understanding, and in certain cases, basically taking personal shots and runs at the people who made the original show. Which, again, there's no reason to do that. You can have a different point of view. He made it pretty clear that he didn't really understand the show. He wasn't really that big of a fan. He was being brought in to help make the show. In this case, he was being brought in to take the hits for the person who was running the show.
Mm-hmm.
The cowardly personality who didn't want people to know who he was because he knew that everything was going to get hate.
Mm-hmm.
And again, as far as I know, I think this guy has lost his job at Netflix. So we don't really have to worry about seeing his vestige around there again. I'm just sorry that Kevin got mixed up with the guy.
I don't think he understood the kind of brand damage it was going to do, and he definitely that really turned a lot of people against him, because I was a huge fan of him. Well, I actually see. I think Dogma is one of the greatest movies ever made. I think it's funny as hell. But then they followed it up with that Jay and Silent Bob movie, which Strike Back, I think is the name of it. That movie was horrible. I couldn't believe it was the same people, that made those two movies.
Yeah.
But the whole He-Man thing, he really put his neck on a chopping block. And
I hope the money was good to do that, because
because he may not be making much more of it. I mean,
well, I look, he's got talent. That's the thing about it. I always felt bad, because it would always sound like when he was on his podcast that he was going out of his way to avoid doing anything bigger, because he didn't want to put himself in the crosshairs and get all the hate and everything. And my thing is like, look, dude, sometimes you just got to pull the trigger. Sometimes you just got to go for it. And again, nobody can say anything about his original movies. I mean, they all come from him. I got nothing bad to say about anything. Not every movie he's made has been something that I found the most enjoyment out of, but I never hated any of it, because it comes from him. It comes from an honest, deep, sincere place. And he's expressing himself, and there's nothing wrong at all with that. In fact, I applaud the guy. I applaud the way that he's handled everything, going into podcasting. It's part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now is because of what Kevin Smith has done.
Yep.
And
that show Comic Book Men on was it on AMC? Yeah, I think it was on AMC. Loved that show. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah. And he's, look, I don't care what the man says. I think he's talented as an actor too.
Yeah, he is.
I really enjoyed his movie Catch and Release.
Yeah,
he's actually very good in that.
I must be the minority in the panel. I feel Kevin Smith is extremely overrated.
Yeah.
No, you know what, dude? That's fine.
It's all about your perspective.
That's right. It's all about your perspective, man. And again, I have him at number 8 because technically he should be higher, but the whole Masters of the Universe thing really did it his brand took a hit.
It did.
A lot of his social media stuff, the videos with him crying, it took a hit,
Yeah. He didn't expect the backlash he was going to get. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I can understand people that didn't like Masters of the Universe because I was one of them. I just didn't like the fact that he tried to cover for someone who had other ideas and an agenda with what was being made, and that Kevin decided to take the hit for that. Again, loyalty, mad respect, but personally, I don't think he needed to do that. But hey, I hope he got paid a lot, and I hope it was worth it. But outside of that, I got mad respect for everything he's ever done, even for the stuff that I didn't think was that entertaining. I liked because it comes from him. You can definitely say that he's not trying to emulate anyone else.
No,
he's not.
He's an original, no doubt about it.
And there's a lot to be said for that. You can enjoy Clerks and Mallrats and Chasing Amy and Dogma especially. Look, I agree with you. I think Dogma is his best movie.
Dude, yeah, it is, hands down. And it's hard to find now. I'm glad I got a physical copy of it. Get physical copies, guys. I'm telling you, because you can't get that movie anywhere. Didn't some religious nut buy the rights to that just so they could block production of it?
No, what it is that it's tied up in the whole Harvey Weinstein thing. And as companies and others come after Weinstein and everything that he's touched, it's gotten completely caught up in all of that. So the movie's it's going to be a long time before that thing comes back out on any kind of media, but look, all of it. All of it's it's all good. And personally, I've enjoyed all of his Jay and Silent Bob stuff. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say, it's A+ material across the board. But I enjoy the fact that, again, he has his own voice and he expresses himself. He writes the stuff. He directs the stuff. He'll act in it. He'll put his family and friends in it. I mean, I like the guy still.
I like him too. I just, the whole He-Man thing, it damaged him. It did.
Yeah. I wish things had been a little bit different, but that's fine. Everybody has to go their own way and do what they think they should do for both themselves and really for the creative spark within. So, just keep being yourself. Because nowadays, that's your best commodity, really, is just be yourself. Create from your heart. And in my opinion, you never can go wrong. So,
Technically, we're past the half of the show mark.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh my no, I am sorry.
Not your
I
fault.
should the one.
There's a guy in the background that forgot to play the music,
Wait.
but it's okay.
Well,
Oh man, this is very hard to find something here. Here we go.
Hi guys, this is Gary from Pop Culture Minefield here on KGRA, and we're leaving for our first break. I hope we survive.
A birthday without her mom, an anniversary without her husband, her wedding day without her dad. These are the days when military families feel it most of all. The loss of their soldier, their sailor, their airman, their Marine, their Coast Guardsman. Families never forget their loved ones lost to war or illness or suicide. Families never forget, and neither do we. We are TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. We provide resources, support, and comfort to heal the hearts and meet the needs of grieving military families, all at no cost to them. Your generosity can make an enormous difference in the lives of the families of our fallen military heroes. Our military families need to know they are not alone and they are not forgotten. Show them your support at taps.org.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Oh wow, we survived. Welcome back from the commercial break. Now for some more Pop Culture Minefield on KGRA.
Okay, well, see, up to this point, we have gone through
2, maybe 3. 3.
We got 8 left.
Yeah, we have 8 left. So here we go, and I'm going to try to get this through.
7 left.
7 left.
In a timely
Where'd you go to school
fashion.
at?
Well, I was trying to block Kevin Smith out of my mind, but
Tell us how you really feel.
It'll be all right. It'll be all right.
Okay, so we're going to start with number 7. Okay, look, I know I'm going to take a hit on this, but I am willing to take that hit because I believe that this is a really talented guy. That said, he did this to himself. I have never seen someone take themselves out so completely. But he is a geek, and his influence continues to be felt in the industry because he successfully adapted the Spider-Man storytelling technique and brought it back in a way in the 90s that really helped the show that he was making. Okay? And that was Buffy, and it's Joss Whedon. The guy's talented. He spent a long time being a ghostwriter and other things. But his personal life is a mess. Mm-hmm. And the way that he treated the Buffy cast and other people that he's, worked with. And again, I saw that interview with him a year ago. The one that he did for Vulture. which was a year ago this month. That's a complete tone deaf dude there. You know, that Vulture article. Oh my gosh. It's like, dude, you just got to stop talking. you just got to stop. You know, it's like you messed up and you messed up big. And you have to understand your ex-wife, she got you, man. I mean, there's not much more you can say. You did what you did. And you can't blame it on being young because, you know, you were of a certain age. And when you creep up, oh, geez, some of that stuff is just, it's hard to listen to some of the actors that he dealt with in talking about what it was like to work with him. You know,
do you think he still has the same influence when he was at the height of his powers with the Avengers movie?
Yeah, because look, okay, I'll tell you this much. Did you see anything in Phase 4 that even comes close to matching what he was able to do?
No.
No.
I don't.
But
I also remember what happened to Justice League when he got his hands on it too.
True. And again, he has to take the hit on that one. You know, some of the stuff he did behind.
I don't know if he has to take the total brunt of it because he was trying to mop up a mess.
Well, it was
according to the studio. That's what he was told. Mop up this mess.
Yeah. Well, and given who was telling us that, you know, again, I have to at least say this: for someone that started out as a Hollywood guy, and he's like second, third generation Hollywood as far as being a writer. I have never seen anyone start out in Hollywood that had made the successful transition to writing not just comic books, but writing good comic books. His run on X-Men should be used as what they should follow for any X-Men films they make for the MCU. I'm sorry, I feel that strongly about it. And given where X-Men is right now, even if you hated his run on X-Men, it's a hell of a lot better than what you're getting right now.
Yeah. It's better than what we're getting now, but if you're going to use anybody for the blueprint, it's going to be Chris Claremont.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, as someone coming out of the entertainment industry going into comics versus coming the other way.
Yeah.
You know,
what has he done lately?
He's
not
been
to sound like Janet Jackson.
Yeah. He hasn't done very much, but the things that he started still echo throughout everything. Now, they're still trying to find a way of bringing back his television show called oh man,
Firefly.
No. I think that one's done, but he had a television series called The Nevers, and they're still trying to find a way of bringing that back.
I liked that one. Me and my wife
too.
watched that and liked it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're still trying to find something.
It had that girl, John. If you haven't seen it, it's got the girl that was in the holiday special for Halloween, the Werewolf by Night one.
Yeah,
the chick that played.
I know the Nevers.
I can't remember the character's name, but you know who I'm talking about.
That was a few years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I want to say maybe it was 2 years ago. The Nevers came out.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah,
and
it was during the pandemic, and it was good. I enjoyed it. Man. Yeah.
The final episode, he basically, you know, Warner Brothers decided to part ways with him before they finished the series, and they brought in one of his Buffy writers who helped to finish out the series. And I thought, look, that episode, the way it was written, it actually was better than a lot of the other previous episodes before that, and I enjoyed everything. So, I mean, you had somebody ready to take over, you know, but because of the circumstances and the sale and Zaslav and all this other stuff, a lot of that stuff just got put on the back burner. And it doesn't help when you have someone like a Joss Whedon who now seemingly is in his own weird universe where in some strange way he's trying to paint himself as the victim. Yeah. Gonna need you to shut the F up. That's my legal advice to you. It's like, at this point, dude, just shut up. Don't say nothing. Don't do nothing. And he's done that. You know, he's not said or done anything. But again, you know, because of that, and that shows you how bad things are right now. Someone who hasn't done anything, and you could point back to their work and say, look at the MCU, and his work still rings true, and it's some of the best stuff out there.
Yep.
You know,
show enough,
dude's got problems. Yeah,
well,
go ahead.
Playing the victim is default Hollywood response to everything.
Yep. That's for sure.
Yeah. And again, I hope he gets help. You know, I really
because I've enjoyed just about everything he's done.
Yeah.
Look, the achievement of the first Avengers movie cannot be understated.
That's right.
It changed movie making, as far as I'm concerned, the way they do long-term storytelling through a franchise. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. It's still going, even though we're getting Drek out of it. It's still going.
Yeah,
and a lot of it that they need to, acknowledge the fact that he had a lot to do with it. So,
and again, you know what he was able to do with both the first Avengers movie and then Avengers: Age of Ultron. And again, I've been hearing a lot of the cut stuff, the stuff that didn't make it into the film. They could almost do something amazing by adding a lot of that stuff back in to make an amazing movie.
Oh yeah. You know what? It's funny you bring that movie up. A lot of people say that's that's their least favorite Avengers movie, and I get it, you know, but he put stuff in there for the fans for sure. That scene where Vision comes in and saves Scarlet Witch right at the last second before that place goes to pieces. I mean, every fan of the West Coast Avengers freaked out when they saw that. You know what I mean? Because that was the Avengers I grew up on. You know, I dig Age of Ultron because of the Vision, the birth of the Vision, and everything.
James Spader's performance in that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome. You know, you want to talk about another freak? Yeah, that guy right there. Yeah, he's an idiot savant. Everything he touches turns to gold. It really does.
Yeah.
But you watch some of his movies though, and he's like, I put him in a class with what's that guy's name? Mickey Rourke. You know, they like to make weird movies, dude. They like to make weird movies, and they like to take their clothes off. They really do. They're just a couple of freaks. But
both of them are part of the MCU.
Yeah, and both of them are very talented. But you know, they've got they let their freak flags fly a lot. You know, so. But yeah, Josh Whedon. To your point, he's a geek, and he gets it, and he loves putting stuff in there for the fans. Little bitty Easter eggs like that right there. I mean, I'm telling you, I freaked out when I saw the Vision fly into that train and get her out of there. I was like, yes.
Yeah, see, and there it is right there, John.
Yep.
People still get excited, man. And again, if he had done nothing else except the Buffy television series, I give him credit because he took the original Steve Ditko, Stan Lee, Spider-Man formula and turned it into Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's all he did. It's the same storytelling style. It's a teenager. In this case, instead of a boy, it's a girl. Instead of super powered supervillains, it's creatures of the night. But everything else still stands. And that's genius to have come up with that. You know, to turn it on its head and do that.
I'm just not a big Buffy fan either, but you know.
Well, I love Buffy, but I think the best stuff was Angel.
I was fixing to say, I haven't watched an episode of either one, but the fact that he made a long-running television show out of a movie that was semi-popular, you know, and had it going for years, and then had a spin-off off of it, he must have been doing something right. Somebody was buying the material. So
we could do a whole other show on just the Buffyverse and all the writers and stuff that work behind the scenes.
Yep.
But wait a minute, Gavatino Cavalry Menche, why was Wonder Man not brought in with Scarlet Witch, Vision, and Quicksilver? Oh, I'll tell you. Here's my 2-word answer: Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it, Kevin Feige. Again, his writing was always spot on. If the sad part of it is, there is something about the way he writes scripts. If he gets the right actors to perform, it's magical to see his scripts come to life. And he got all those actors. I mean, if you think about it, every single actor started out in a different movie with a different set of writers. And he took all of these actors and put them in one movie and gave them, he just spun gold for them, you know? So I feel bad for the guy because I like his work, but the dude's a little bit of an a-hole. So he's got
a little bit.
Okay. You can take the word a little bit out, but I mean, okay, who would play Wonder Man? That's a good question. If
10 years ago, it would have been Nathan Fillion.
That's right.
Right.
10 years ago, it definitely would have been Nathan Fillion. If I were casting right now, I'd say the guy playing Reacher would be a great Wonder Man. So, you know, that's just me. Let's go to number 8.
No, number 6.
Number 6. Yeah, 6. Number 6. Why did I say it? Number 6, Edgar Wright. The geek of geeks. He's already on the Mount Rushmore of all-time geek nerds out there. His career is nothing but that. And I still think he got screwed on the whole Ant-Man thing. I would love to read his original Ant-Man script. He should have been one of the architects of the MCU and was on his way to becoming one of those, and had the ground not shifted underneath him, he probably would have been. I still would love to. I think he could make a Fantastic Four movie, you know, but I don't think we're ever really going to see him back in the MCU. You know?
Again, someone else. I'm not a really huge. Well, wait, Edgar Wright. I'm confusing him with someone else. Never mind.
I really didn't know who you were talking about, but I'm looking at his IMDb and I see Shaun of the Dead, and that's all I need to know. Yeah, he's cool.
No.
I was confusing with the guy that did like the those weird movies that like that hotel movie and stuff.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Yeah, this guy's
yeah.
Okay.
Scott, yeah.
Edgar Wright is the guy behind a trilogy of films. Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End.
Yes.
Yep.
And those 3 films, again, like with Kevin Smith, he has his own way. He built his own world. He's making things out of his own imagination. Look, to me, his greatest film, in my personal opinion, is Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, Hot Fuzz.
I love that. I love that film. I love that film. I will watch it every single time it's on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it's followed very, very closely by Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which is a great adaptation of the comic. Baby Driver, I love Baby Driver.
I have not seen Baby Driver yet.
Oh, jeez.
But everybody tells me it's great. Hey, you know, some things slip through the cracks.
Oh, yeah. No. I mean, I was just, you know,
yeah.
I think back to when I first saw that movie, and I knew the movie was going to be good. I walk out of that film going, oh, that's one of the.
Yeah, for some reason, I was getting him confused with Wes Anderson.
Oh,
I hate Wes Anderson.
That's a different thing. Yeah.
Well, guess who's next on the no?
Right. John's about to leave.
All right, I'll see you later. No,
I wouldn't do that to you, buddy. But Edgar Wright.
Look, before we get off the subject, yes, I dig the guy after looking at his IMDb page, because one of the funniest scenes I've seen in any movie is where they're beating the hell out of a zombie to the tune of "Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen in that bar.
Yeah.
It is freaking ridiculously funny. My God, that scene is great. Oh,
and the Ice Cream
awesome.
trilogy is extremely underrated as far as the depth of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Edgar Wright doing anything that allows him to work with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
Mm-hmm.
Sign me up. I'm
Yep.
there. You know,
Yeah.
It just, yeah. Edgar, again, I would like to personally plead my case to Edgar Wright directly. Look, I get it. It didn't work out with you in the MCU. So come on over to Warner Brothers. Come on over and
Yeah.
and just
and try
Edgar
and
Wright
keep
doing
yeah
Booster
try and
Gold
keep
and
the
Blue
boss
Beetle.
in check, James Gunn. You know, try and keep him in check and help him out. Yeah, I'm with you.
That would be so amazing to have him. Just wow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna need a moment. Hold on.
Yikes.
Just that would be awesome to announce that Edgar Wright would work on an original DC movie. That just, I mean, Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. That'd mucho fun if you wrote it like you did Hot Fuzz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a box office winner right there.
And Booster Gold's played by Chris Pratt.
Oh God, yeah. Have that guy being the wisecracking dude. Yeah, that would be good.
People, I think we should hasten the pace.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
let me speed it up. So we've gone from 6 to number 5, Zack Snyder.
He's influential. Yeah,
he is.
Even though he's sidelined, he is. Yep.
Look, what he had planned for the DC films, to me, was about as good as he was able to get it, given who he was working for and how they were running the business. The one thing I will definitely say about Zack Snyder in that particular instance is this. I know you've got your people that will continue to say, you know, Man of Steel ruined and blah, 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 blah. Let me correct you on something, because you can look it up for yourself. He didn't write the movie.
No.
He wasn't in charge of that script, but he had to use that film as the template for how he was going to portray all the characters in the rest of that universe. People keep talking about how, well, he was doing this and he created. No, Warner Brothers didn't want him.
They wanted Christopher Nolan.
They wanted Christopher Nolan. And Nolan and his people came up with the idea for the script and wrote the screenplay for Man of Steel. And he was given this screenplay to follow as if it were a religion. This is it. This is how you do it. And so when you come into making something like Batman v Superman, you know, he had to stick to the playbook that had already been previously made by someone else. So, again, I'm not saying, I'm not saying he was a victim and that you shouldn't get any. No. I'm not saying that at all. The man took the paycheck. He got paid. He did the work. I'm just saying that he's not as much to blame as you think. He was working pretty much under the orders of what Warner Brothers at that time was like. And they had people working there that are just, well, now looking at the way the MCU's run, probably the second worst out there.
And
but
he was totally backstabbed on Justice League.
Oh, geez, God, he was.
Yeah.
I mean, he wanted to work. He wanted to stay. He was trying to get his mind off of what had happened, and he got screwed.
Yep.
You know, and so that's the only time I will say he got screwed was on Justice League.
Yeah.
You know, so but you can't argue with the casting.
Mm-hmm.
No. You can't argue with the plan that he had, the overall arching plan for the story. Again, he couldn't change anything. So he had to deal with what he was given. So in doing that, I liked what he had.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that
I wish he would have been given a chance.
Yeah. He wasn't even really given a chance. He was just told, you will do this, or this, or we will fire you, or we will, you know, because all this stuff that you hear all these excuses from the executives. Anyone that says, "Oh well, he was just doing what he wanted to do," and even after we were disappointed in the movies, we couldn't fire him. What do you mean you couldn't fire him? You were in charge,
right?
I mean, I just, that kills me. Anyway, okay, enough of that. Wait a minute, who's this?
I don't know.
Oh!
There he is. What's up, man?
Me. I am up and moving around. I've been up for a while. I just I wanted to make sure everything was flowing and working. So I'm tethering right now with my Android. That's how I'm able to be on here. But I won't stay on long because I only have so many gigs on that thing.
Yeah.
But I just want to stop in and say hi and remind everybody we have a show coming up at 1 o'clock Central Time. We're going to have Kieran Bug on from Geekosity magazine. Next week is Mikey Sutton. We got screwed up in our communications. I thought he was coming on today. But it's just going to be Kieran. I say just. It's going to be awesome having Kieran. I love Kieran Bug. He's going to be joining us this afternoon, along with, we're going to be talking about some stuff. Last minute addition. Lance Kerwin died.
Yeah, I saw that.
Wow, that sucks.
So we'll probably talk about him a little bit today too, because man, when we were kids, Keith, he was one of the biggest stars.
Oh yeah.
TV. We had him on multiple ABC after school specials. He was like on about a half dozen of them.
But it showed James at 16.
James at 15, James at 16.
Yeah.
Good show. Should have lasted longer. And then, of course, good God, he's in Enemy Mine, and he is in, of course, Salem's Lot with David Soul. He was the co-star.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the handful of people who survived at the end.
Yep.
The vampire apocalypse. And dead at 62 today, man. Well,
yeah, that's
24th,
young,
he's when
man.
he died.
I'm looking at he was born in 1960.
He's only like a few years older than Keith and me, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And me. God, yeah.
Yeah, I know. You got that long gray hair. You got that John Carpenter hair.
I'm Peter Pan. I'm going to stay as young as I can, as long as I can, right?
You know what I'm talking about? That stringy fucking John Carpenter hair.
That's it, baby.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. See,
of course, we don't want to talk about the bald. We don't want to talk about the bald, though. The
the whole Sean Connery thing,
right?
Yeah. That's naughty. I'm going to fight you with my left thumb because the right thumb's too powerful for you. But I want to stop in and say hi and remind everybody we got a show this afternoon. That was the best Salem's Lot. Don't get me wrong. The one they did in the early 2000s wasn't terrible, but it's still look, they got it right the first time.
Yeah.
In the 80s with Lance Kerwin, David Soul, Bonnie Bedelia, what's his name? James Mason. Hey, my name is James Mason. How do you do my voice? You do an English accent and then make it sound like you've got to take a shit. I've got to poop. And who else? God, he's a character actor. You see him all the time. Under the makeup of the vampire in that is actually a well-known bit part actor of the 80s.
Wow.
And boy, was that a creep. That was one of the best movie vampires, in my opinion.
Yeah, they really did a nice ode to Nosferatu with that. It was very
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and try to finish this up so we can get out of here.
Yeah, let me get out of here. I just wanted to stop in and say hi and do that.
It's nice seeing you, buddy.
See you this afternoon, Keith.
Bye,
see you,
Gary.
John. See you, Joe. Fuck you, Martine.
How dare you?
How dare you? I'll see you this afternoon, guys.
Take care, man.
Okay, so we're to number 3. So our top 3, everybody.
Uh-oh.
Would you like to take a guess as to who it is?
I know one of them's Feige. I hope he's not number 1, but go ahead.
John?
Elon Musk.
Ooh,
Wow.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even consider that dude. I really didn't. But
Well,
he-
he's a geek in the
He's a big
tradition,
geek.
a nerd
Yeah.
in the traditional sense, and he's also extremely influential with the way he wields Twitter.
Yes.
True.
We're finding that out.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna put him on honorable mention because Joe called it right. It's Kevin Feige, number
Okay,
3.
there you go. Thank God he's not number 1. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
You know what? Again, Kevin Feige. I like the guy. I do. Do I agree with all of his decisions? No, I don't. I feel that he's trying to run this entire thing now. He's running a lot more than what he had just a few years ago. And so he's having to depend on people who, in my opinion, are just dragging everything down.
Troy Alonso, Nate Moore.
I get it. I do. You know, you're trying to make all this stuff, and
I got to tell you though, Keith, you have. I was really mad at the guy, but you're the guy that turned me around to the fact that he is being told what to do, and he has too much on his plate. I can see that. Your arguments for that, I have really taken under my wing, and I'm starting to believe in that because he was just as big as part as anybody else in the first 3 phases of the MCU.
Yeah.
So, the guy can't be all bad. I mean,
I just wish that he would go back to seeing the MCU as something that is there to help, promote what Marvel does. Because that really was, look, I know that there are people out there that would completely disagree with my take on Phase 4 and a few other things. But you have to understand, Marvel Studios was created to help elevate and push forward what Marvel as a brand was making, and mainly the comics. That is not what is happening right now. Okay? They aren't doing that. What they're doing is they are substituting all of that for what they're able to do in the movies. The movies come first.
Mhm.
And they are changing characters to meet the current year idealism that they have. And that to me is kind of that's backwards, man. That is completely backwards.
They're all about pushing the message.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, Kingsport Cal, you're right. People don't read anymore. They're especially not reading the comics.
Why? They're reading manga now because it's better. They're telling better stories.
Yeah, and everybody doing manga, they're getting paid.
Yep.
You choose not to pay people. Quality people don't want to show up. They don't want to work for you. So
everything all the guys that I guess you can call them comic skate, whatever you want to call them, guys like Ethan Van Stryver and that bunch, they've gone to Kickstarter and Indiegogo to sell their stuff. Substack. They're doing all that now.
Yeah, and they're making it work. Yeah, they're making it work.
Yeah. The guy that runs Clownfish TV on YouTube, I dig his stuff too. And these are all guys that were not going to take a lower amount of money because they knew they were their worth. They decided to go get it for themselves. So this is what you get.
And there's this too, this thing that Kingsport Cal is saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why read more when they can watch it? Yeah.
That's the thing, though. You're not getting the best of what Marvel has if you're watching what they're producing. You're
not getting the best of what Marvel could be if you're looking at what they're producing now.
Yeah. And I've reached a point with comics for both Marvel and DC that anything that they've done in the last 15 years, I automatically just don't look at. I don't read it. I don't anything produced that's coming out right now, going back 15 years, I'm not about it. I'm sorry.
My pull list consists of Amazing Spider-Man, just to support my comic book shop, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That and anything that's a cover by Art Germ. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
any of the alternate covers he does, they'll pull for me. But yeah, I don't buy much of nothing, and I don't even look at them. I just stick them in a bag and stick them in a box. That's all I do. Yeah, I don't even read them.
I switched over a long time ago to trades and graphic novels, and the stuff I'm reading is Godzilla, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin.
Here in a couple months, I hope all of you are reading The Privateer. So
yeah. Well, soon as it's available, I'm buying it. You got
I know, man. You got to remember, it's a one-man show, and I got commissions going through, so that's why I'm putting it out to March. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's looking good.
Well, we can just push on through and go to number 2, and that's James Gunn.
Yeah.
James Gunn. I still think, even without running DC films, he'd still be in my top 5 because he's just that talented. Now, you may not like everything he does, but I mean, you have to recognize the fact the guy seems to he's got the gift, and he had to have had something if Kevin Feige was going to give him all of Cosmic Marvel to run, I just, at this point, I'm anxious to be honest. I'm anxious. I mean, I get it. I get where they're going. I get what the person who is his boss is telling him. David Zaslav. I know there's a lot of pressure there because you got somebody over you that is not above firing you and finding someone else.
Yep.
And that's scary. But guess what? You signed on the dotted line. This is the horse you're riding. So I guess this is what you're doing. And you guys have already made certain decisions. And again, I know some of it was Zaslav, but this is where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is the reality. It's like waking up and finding out you're falling through the air and you don't know where the plane is. And that thing on your back might be a parachute or it might be a backpack. You don't know. So,
well, you can say what you want about James Gunn. He's had some bad takes in the past. We all know that. That's some of the baggage he brings with him. But I cannot name a movie that I've seen that he's made where he didn't tell a good story, first of all, and secondly, have that moment that really rips at your heart, man. He knows how to do that.
Yep.
And I mean, in the way he portrays Rocket Raccoon being this guy that is really, he's lashing out at people because he's so hurt, and I mean, just look at what was it? The what was the character's name in the new Suicide Squad movie he made?
Ratcatcher
2.
Yep.
That in that movie, I hate. I mean, I don't hate the guy, but I hate him in superhero movies. Taika Waititi, but what a great moment in that movie. Took a character that who gives a shit about the Ratcatcher, right?
Yeah, but even worse,
you care about
a character that people cared even less about than Ratcatcher was Polka Dot Man. He took a silly character and elevated it.
Yeah.
So
Man,
that's the reason why I can't get down on the dude.
No,
look what he done with Peacekeeper.
That's right. Give him a chance.
Peacemaker.
Everybody.
That's another one that's on my list.
Peacemaker,
haven't seen
not
it yet.
Peacekeeper.
Heard great things about it. It's on my list. I'm gonna watch it, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Please, you have.
I hear it's good. Yeah.
Just give the guy a chance. Is all I can tell everybody. I mean, I know some people, are kind of upset about
They're upset with the Cavill thing,
and I get it. And the thing is, I agree with you. I would love to see Henry Cavill stay, but we are running into the reality of both in terms of money, because he's never really headlined a big film by himself that wasn't something that was being done by Zack. I mean, all of that stuff. There's a lot of downsides. He's getting older.
Yeah.
Time is not stopping for him. He's a good-looking man, but he's a good-looking man that's getting older, you know. And so I get all of that. I love Gal Gadot. I think Ben Affleck is still probably my favorite Batman of all time.
Well, at least physically, he's the best one. That's for sure.
But again, I get it. And so if this is the formula we're with, if this is your marching orders, you got to execute those orders. Do what you're told and do it to the best of your ability. You know, you're spending the money. You've taken the money now. So do your job. You know, just cast really well and write your butt off. You know, that's all I can say. I'm down for whatever you try to do. Just make it good. That's all I ask. Just make it good.
I'm willing to give him a chance, and that's
3 years.
Yeah, I know, but it's something. I mean, as much like you, I agree. As much as I like Cavill, as much as I like, I didn't believe I'd ever say this, but as much as I like Ben Affleck as Batman and Gal Gadot, or Gadot, however you say it, it's if they're putting together a 10-year plan, you can't build a 10-year plan on actors that old.
Yeah,
it's true.
So you know that's the long and short of it. Well, look, we got to quickly get to the top of the list, and guess what, guys? Like I said, I had a tough time. So the top list is a tie.
Uh-oh.
It's James Cameron and Jon Favreau.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's my tie. You know, both of those guys are total fans, and both those guys are good at what they do. You know, when Jon Favreau's being allowed to do his thing without interference, he's kicking butt and taking names.
Yep.
And James Cameron seems to function on people underestimating him or counting him out. You know, both those guys have earned my eternal gratitude and respect as a fan.
I have to admit it. I didn't think Avatar 2 would make $2 billion, but it sure did.
Can't argue with the results, can you?
Nope.
And on that note, I haven't enjoyed that movie with all its multiple flaws. I gotta say, I don't understand how it made $2 billion plus, and I liked it.
Because it's got a huge fan base, man.
That's
There's
right.
a lot of people that dig that franchise. Now that we have a second movie, it's a franchise now.
I'm part of that fan base, and I've been hearing for years that everybody hates it, and I was, why? Okay, this is not the best movie ever, but why hate it?
Can I at least offer something that I heard someone else on another show say, and I have to say I agree with them. I think the number one thing to Avatar: The Way of Water being successful worldwide is the fact that you have something in the film that not a lot of people nowadays want to put in a lot of Hollywood films, which is a strong father figure.
Yeah. I've heard that's a big plus in the movie. I haven't seen it myself, but
so you know what? You're not seeing that kind of thing played out in a lot of movies coming out of Hollywood today.
Yeah, and not just one strong father figure. Every father figure in the movie is strong.
Yes.
Yep.
So, I mean, that people want to see that, you know. I hope James Cameron, I would love to see what he's going to do next. And as far as his non-Avatar stuff, you know what? I wish him luck and health, seriously, because he seems to just have this ability to be able to figure it out and get it done. And you can't argue with how powerful that is. Personally, I want to see an Alita 2. You know, Alita Battle Angel 2.
I loved Alita, the first one.
Yeah.
Another one on my list I haven't seen. Yeah.
That was just a kick-ass movie, and it was well casted. Robert Rodriguez, I have him as honorary mention for the list. He missed out on being on this list. But yeah, Alita Battle Angel 2, get right on it. I want to see that. So anyway,
well, he's doing Avatar for the next 10 years. So
yeah, yeah, he's locked into that one, boys and girls, no doubt.
Anyway, that's the list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was something that doesn't piss too many people off. You know,
well, we didn't talk much about Favreau, but Favreau is single-handedly trying to save Star Wars.
He is. And
well, he has help with Filoni, but I think I'm starting to see where Filoni's a little bit too much of a yes man for.
That's right.
A certain KK.
Mm-hmm. Look, I will say. Go ahead.
I think, and this is going to be, it's going to rise some eyebrows, but Caitlin Kennedy should have been on the list. Her influence is undeniable. The levels of destruction of things that have endured through
She's not a geek, though.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
She's not a geek, though.
No, she's a glorified barista.
She's a coffee maker. Yes.
I have no problem with that. Anyway, look, again, I tried with I have gone and produced. You guys will not believe how many times I've taken names off the list, put other names on. I mean, I went back and forth on this list so many times over the last 4 days. And the only reason why I've been doing it for 4 days is prior to that, I actually had it in my head who my top 10 was. And 4 days ago, you kind of reach this panic mode. And so I wrote it all out. And next thing you know, I had over 20 names. And I was just like, well, maybe I should. And then you start doing that thing where you start switching them around. And I was making myself crazy. And it was just.
That's why I hate making lists. I just let me list them out, but don't let me put them in particular order.
I would have added more than 10 names if I had just listed it out, So anyway, I hope you guys had a really good time. I hope everyone in the chat had a really, really good time.
Speaking of which, you should go through the list.
And I will go through the list. So starting off, let us get with Penny. Thank you. Monkey Jeebus. Thank you. D. Bud Martin. Keely Chow. Dragon Ruse. Retro. Nerd Girl. Also, Railway Nation Gaming. Dr. Shadow Dragon. King's Port Cow. Boosh McFadden. Zax. Shanatsky. Fletcher Williams. Christian Good
lips.
I know. I'm tired. I haven't been to sleep yet. Delarme, Geek Time TV, Mighty Orbots, War Monkey, and Cavatino, Cavalryman Che. All of you guys I've enjoyed having you here. I've enjoyed the chat. And of course, I've enjoyed Joe and John and of course, Martin.
Well, thanks to the audience, because without them and that chat, we wouldn't have a show.
That's it.
Yeah.
So chat on YouTube.
Just check us out next week. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and push the like or just become a fan. And you can find us on KGRA. And always remember, for that morning burst of energy, don't forget, fuel up. It's worth your time, because I've got mine. So anyway, I want to thank everybody, and with that, I think we are out of here.